What's up, gearheads? It's Trev, and it's time for another product review.
I'm gonna give him a thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs down, thumbs up. I'll give it a thumbs up. Yonaka Coilovers. Double adjustable, aluminum cap and adjuster rings. You can adjust the spring rate by moving these two center rings, and you can adjust the height by moving the shock body. So you can change the height of your car without changing the spring rate. Now if you check out Yanaka's website, they say that these coilover sets retail for, I think it's around like $1,200, a little over $1,000. But they're having a half price sale. I think I got the full set for about $450. Now that sounds like a good deal until you realize that you're buying a $450 coilover set and it's just kind of a sketchy marketing scam that they do. Don't know why. Rears are the same as the fronts when it comes to adjustability, spring tension, and height.
How are they? Yonaka's coilovers actually ride quite nice. They handle fairly well. Bumps are definitely tolerable. It's actually quite smooth for a lowered vehicle. It's an enjoyable ride. Cornering's not bad. Just as smooth on the highway as they are on the street. It's a very comfortable ride. So when it comes to ride quality, I'm definitely going to give it to Yanaka. Their coilovers ride fairly nice. When it comes to the manners of the car, as far as the street car goes, I think it's a pretty good compromise. Handling is decent. Ride quality is good. They compromise well for how it drives in a street car. And that's pretty much what they're designed for. Here's a good test right here. Construction zone. So fairly decent ride from Yonaka Coil Springs as far as lowered cars go. Compared to the drop zone springs with Tokiko Blue shocks that I used to have, I think these are actually a slightly softer ride.
So the Yanaka coilovers handle well on the highway. They ride nice. They do okay through the city roads. Let's fuel up and get out to some country roads and see how they do on the twisties.
So if you want a throwback, depending on how long you've been following this channel, this here is the road where I filmed I think, the intro to my build or destroy video, where I thought it was so cool because I could spin the tires of my Integra because it was wet outside. And believe it or not, I unknowingly at the time dropped a hint as to what's coming up in this car's future. But let's get back to the task at hand. We want to see how these Yonaka coilovers handle out on the back roads and the twisties. So even with some tired end links on the sway bars and some worn out bushings, there's little body roll. It feels like there's little nosedive when you get on the brakes. It's a stiff enough ride that you can really throw something into a corner and have some fun with it. But again, it's still soft enough that it's comfortable. Backcountry road trip makes for a good excuse to stop for ice cream. Good stuff. So ride quality and handling, pretty good. I definitely approve. Now let's talk about how the car looks.
Well, the car looks like crap, but if you're already subscribed to my channel, you know it's a work in progress. I'm talking about how it sits on the Yanaka coilovers. That is where we actually start to get into some of the problems. I'd prefer it a little lower in the front, although that's not bad. And you'll notice, although I'm shooting with a wide angle, so it probably distorts it a little bit, but it really slopes down towards the back a bit, or is raked towards the back. And then the back tire really tucks. Now, why is this a problem? Well, it's because the front coilovers are all the way down, as low as they can be adjusted. The back ones are all the way up for the most part. Actually, I don't even really consider them safe the way they are. There's only 5/8 of an inch of thread of the shock body that is screwed into the mount. That's all that's holding it together. They're as high as they can go and then some. Now the purpose of having adjustable coilovers is, of course, that you can adjust them to be able to go up and down in ride height. Well, if I'm maxed out at the low position on the front and maxed out on the up position on the back, I don't know that I really consider that adjustable, especially since it's still not even adjusted right. Another issue that I take with the Yanakas, other than being slammed on the front and jacked in the rear, I had to zip tie my brake hose because these do not come with any type of brackets on them. Now, in case you haven't figured it out by now, although I did like the ride quality of the Yonaka coilover setup, I was not happy overall at all with the Yanaka coilovers, or the company for that matter. Like I said earlier, the car didn't sit level, and I was adjusted to the max on either end. Front coilover, all the way down. Rear coilover, as up as you can go up. This guy isn't even safe anymore. That right there is all that was holding this to this and in my car. That's not cool. And to compare the Yanakas to a much more expensive brand of one of their competitors, first thing that jumps out at you, brake hose brackets. That's kind of important. Keeps things from rubbing through. The other things you're going to notice, factory style shock tower or mount, just flat integrated, kind of a universal setup, which is what I've been wondering about these Yanaka shocks, is if they don't actually fit my car, but they bolt in, so Yanaka was like, yeah, we'll say they'll fit, then we can sell them. I got news for you, Yanaka. They don't fit. And that's why my car is back up in the air again, and I'm changing them. One other thing you're going to notice about the Yanaka compared to a much better brand, the shock body on this one is way thicker. So this is going to be a much stronger shock, and provided it works right, it's actually going to be adjustable in the car rather than maxed on either end and sitting crooked. Now on the upside, one plus for Yanaka, came with the spanners to adjust these things. What's the downside? They don't grip for crap. Every time I was trying to adjust the height of my car throughout that entire battle before I figured out these things just plain don't work, those spanner wrenches just slip right off of those collars with almost every turn. It really took some technique to figure out how to get it done. And not that I approve of ranting on a product review, but now to rant just a little bit, Yanaka's customer service could use a little help too. I sent them an email with my first concern. They replied a day later. I replied to that, and I never heard back for like 2 weeks. So then finally I just called them up, spoke to a salesman because I couldn't get to a technician for some reason, or technical guy, whatever he was. Salesman was nice, but he talked way more than he listened, and we got nowhere. He did, however, let the email guys know that I'd be emailing them again and to make sure that they actually get my stuff and respond. I don't know if it was the responses were going to their junk mail or what. So we emailed back and forth one day at a time, and what struck me as funny is they told me they couldn't understand why I couldn't level the car, but it was clear what my problem was. How does that make any sense? I'll see if I can screenshot that particular email, and you guys can see if you can make sense of it. Anyway, Yanaka did try to work with me a little bit. They offered to make longer rear shock mounts for me. This way I could pick the back end of my car up higher by extending this, while at the same time hopefully allowing me to screw in more than 5/8 of an inch of thread. They said to make a custom longer mount would be 2 to 3 months before I got it. The other option they gave me was to return the coilovers, for which they would waive their restocking fees, which they don't normally do, and accept a return on an installed part, which they don't normally do. And they made that very clear multiple times. Kind of like, you know, hey, we're helping you out a little bit here. Which, you kind of are. I'll give them that. Here's where I get a little upset about the return. I'm stuck paying the shipping. Yanaka basically sent me an email, said, okay, make sure that you box them up, you send them here to this address. So I sent them another one and I said, so are you emailing me a printable shipping label or are you mailing me one in the snail mail? You know, getting a little passive aggressive. Hey, I shouldn't be paying for this. Yanaka replied, we don't pay for shipping on returns. I then replied to that one and told Yanaka, I'm not returning these because like I didn't like the color or I didn't like the way they ride or I want to go lower. I'm returning these because they don't fit. Because your product does not do what it says it does. On your website, it says it is adjustable up and down 4 inches. I don't have any adjustability. I got one fixed ride height with these things, unless I want to like aim my car like I'm launching into space. I am returning these because they do not fit. Yanaka replied to that with, we understand, but we don't pay for return shipping. Okay. So with all that in mind, Yonaka coilovers, thumbs up or thumbs down? If their coilovers fit properly, they would be a good budget entry-level coilover system. But they don't do what Yanaka says they do. So just because the coilovers don't fit, I'm going to give the coilovers a thumbs down. But with the experience I've had with Yanaka, I'm going to give the whole company a big thumbs down. That'll be a company I'm actually never going to buy from again.